Hey everyone, welcome to another session of A Day in the Life of a BA. My name is Marsha Fernandez. I'm a volunteer of IIBA Ireland, and I'll be your host today. At IIBA Ireland, our mission is to support professionals by sharing knowledge, common terminology, and practical insights into the works of a business analyst across different industries. The series gives you a chance to hear directly from BA professionals about their typical day, their processes, the tools and techniques that they use, and the challenges and successes that they encounter in the industry. Each month, we invite a BA professional to share their personal journey, highlighting the different approaches that they take, the technologies that they rely on, and real world examples from their work. So, whether you're considering a career in business analysis, already working alongside BAs, or simply looking to deepen your understanding of the role, today's session is designed to give you clarity, confidence, and shared language for working effectively with BAs. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Pawel Sidorowicz, who works as a business analyst. Pawel will take us through a day in the life of a lead business analyst with extensive experience in delivering successful projects across different teams. Throughout the session, please feel free to turn on your camera for interactions and submit your questions in the Q&A chat or the tab. We'll go through it at the end of Pawel's session. So without further ado, Pawel, it's over to you.
All right, first success. I could turn on my microphone, so I hope you hear me. And very glad that you decided to spend this evening or afternoon with myself. In Poland, it's already 7 p.m., so a good time for a webinar, I believe. So if everything works as it should, you see my slide deck on your screens. You can react, you can smile, you can put your thumbs up if it's true, so that I have confidence that it's actually there. And I hope we will have a good time together for another hour or so. This is new material, prepared especially for this event, so I am not sure how long it will take. If it takes a little bit less than I expect, then we'll have more time to talk and for Q&A, which will be also fine. So, the day in the life of a BA lead. This is a very specific role, and it can be everything or nothing. So I will try to cover a lot of different flavors today, because this can be quite vast or quite small, depending of the setup of the team, of the project, of the organization. Why we have those little groundhogs there? Because I had this all the time when I was preparing this slide deck and this webinar. I had this impression of a Groundhog Day for a BA lead. So you can relive the same day every day, but actually whether this day is actually the same as it was, that's a question. It's a little bit like in this movie, The Groundhog Day. It's the same day, but with different flavors, and different things can happen. Even if you plan what you need to do, there is something that can put hurdles or stumbling blocks in your way. So before we jump into what BA lead role is and how the day looks like, I would like to explain myself a little bit. Why me? Why I am describing this actually? So I have 12 years of experience in business analysis. At least as a BA role, because before I was also doing business analysis work without recognizing that this is business analysis work. So it's a little bit, I done a little bit of process work, of optimization and so on, but I didn't realize that I was actually working as a BA for the projects. So then I also have 4 years of experience in managing different teams in different roles, not only as a team lead of a business analysts team, but also as a team leader of a business analysis team, but also as a supervisor in a call center, which made me realize what life really is and how many mistakes one person can make in their role throughout 1 year of being a supervisor. But yes, that also gave me a lot of perspective and experience for future. So I'm also an Ernst & Young certified manager, business manager. I went through a business academy with 3 different modules. So I can say that I'm actually certified to lead teams or to manage them. Okay, being a BA lead is a little bit of expecting the unexpected, but at the same time being prepared for the expected. So whatever you plan, whatever you think will happen, even if it's unexpected, you should try to brace yourself. So there are different flavors, and I will describe those 3 flavors that I've been in. So you could be a BA lead in a project, which is a different creature than being a BA lead in a chapter in an organization, or being a BA lead in a contracting agency, which I also have done. So all these different roles have a different flavor. When you are a BA lead in a project, it's more about going about the tasks, looking how other BAs are performing, helping around, being the mastermind behind the business analysis approach and stakeholder engagement. Whilst when you are leading a chapter, it's more about providing support, tools, communication channels, working with escalations, conflicts, and so on, trying to organize the working environment for BAs in a way that it's nice to work with, it's easy, and there are no major issues hanging in the air preventing you from doing your job. And being a BA lead in contracting agency is a little bit of both chapter leading, so leading the team, setting up communication channels, helping others to develop, and so on, but also assigning different people to different projects or clients. So it has a flavor also of selling there and supporting people in selling their skills and showing their capabilities to other entities. So and a lot of mentoring, I must say, as well. I've been on all of those 3 roles, so I can recognize the difference between them, and I'll try, and I hope you, after this webinar, you'll see the difference too. So the convention of this presentation, as you can see, we'll try to apply the KISS rule. So we'll keep it stupid and simple. That's my hope, at least. Those animals or groundhogs with different poses and so on is the kind of way I like to do. So I hope I will pass a lot of knowledge and experience, but in a fun and engaging way, I hope. Encapsulation. So what I will do, this is a day in the life of a BA lead. So I try to put a lot of different situations and things that you would need to do as a BA lead, which doesn't mean that all of that would happen in one day. If it does, then I hope you keep your sanity together and that you will survive. But usually, it means that usually it's not that hard, as I presented here. But it doesn't usually but it also usually does not mean that it's always easy, not that hard as I present. So let's say it's a new day, you are a BA lead, you wake up, you have your breakfast, your coffee, you open up your laptop, and then usually we all do the same, even in BA lead role, it's not different. You start with checking your agenda and checking your emails. But the difference with the BA lead role is that you at the same time brace for impact. So since I've been working in different time zones as well, or people localized in different time zones. So I am in Poland, but I worked with Americans, Indians, Japanese, and so on, Brazilians. So sometimes it's that you open an email and there is already havoc and chaos there. In a role of a BA lead, it's even more that than usual. So you might encounter already impact in your emails and you need to be prepared for that. So I tend to, before I open up my laptop and my email, I tend to do, right, some few breaths, some calming techniques, and if I'm ready, then I open it. So I encourage you to do the same. So, but when you do that, you think already about your objectives for the day. So my first objective always is to survive. Yes. So if I end the day and I'm still alive and happy that I'm alive, this means I survived and everything is fine. Second, help those in need, because BA Lead is a lot about being there for people when they need you. Whether that's a project team, whether that's your chapter team, whether that's your BAs in contracting agency, whether these are different other teams or chapters, they all look for your assistance because you are in a lead position, so you probably know well what you are doing, hopefully. Another, get the job done. So besides supporting others, you also have your own tasks you need to do and get them done basically during the day. And the ultimate objective is remain sane. So if you manage to do all that and still remain sane after the end of the day, then you had a successful day, basically. All right, what usually happens next? In BA lead role, you go about project deliverables and stuff. So you have your own work as well to do. I haven't seen a BA lead in a project where the only thing was to lead. Rather, it was, yes, I will lead, help, say other BAs, tell other BAs what they should do and so on, establish some standards in collaboration with those BAs and so on. But I will still need to go about what I need to do, my own tasks, my own data dictionaries, for example, or my own user stories that I need to write. So in a project, you would usually do also BA stuff, and that's what you start your day with. With chapter leads, it's more of a BA team health check. So you have, for example, a group chat and you say, hello, everybody, is everything fine? Do you need any help? If there are no issues, probably everybody will say, hi, Pavel, good morning, no issues to report. That's a good day. On a bad day, you will get flooded with emails that it's not going fine, that maybe I could call you and so on. But that's your role, so that's cool. And where you are a lead in a contracting agency, well, you will have both. Why? Because first of all, you might have your own projects where you are a BA lead because, yeah, you also need to do projects when you're a BA lead in contracting agency. And you will have your BAs that you work with on daily basis that are in your team and you need to support them. So you might have two things at both at the same time. That's why I've created something like this. There is a certain degree of unexpected events in the role. So in my opinion, when you are a BA lead in a project, the probability of unexpected events is around 30% in a day, because usually you have your schedule, you have your tasks, mostly you know what will happen. Of course, there are crisis moments where nobody knows what to do because a new opinion from the legal department has dropped, or from accounting or whoever, or the project is in danger because the funding was cut or anything else. This could happen. But in a well-managed project, this number of unexpected events is cut to minimum, hopefully. In chapter leading, this probability of that your day will not work out as you planned is around 60%. Because when I was the chapter lead, I had 40 BAs in my team. So it's a high possibility that at least one or two of them will run into some kind of issues during the day and you will need to support. When you are a lead in an agency, oh, well, that's a completely different story. Here you might have both, so project crisis, team crisis, or client crisis that you need to solve. So the probability increases dramatically, unfortunately. But to be honest, if I would say which role I liked the most, it was the chapter lead, because it was more about being really empathetic and supporting than leading an agency. Leading BAs in a project is more like semi PM stuff, so leading people to do what they need to do and so on. So I much more enjoyed chapter leading, to be honest. All right, so you were off the mark. The day has started. Now our favorite status meetings we will have as a BA lead at 9:30. So we'll have some Scrum. daily scrums or daily meetings that we need to attend. But when you are a chapter lead, you will visit those meetings from a different perspective. So you will go around. I had the habit of visiting at least one team stand-up of my BAs in a specific organization or project to just check how they go about with their project managers or scrum masters or the team at all. And then after the meeting, if something was wrong or I recognized that that could be giving some useful feedback, then I was just calling and saying, look, I've been in the meeting, maybe you need some assistance, or I recognized something, maybe we could talk about it, because it's a good example, for example, for the whole team. And we might also tackle this. So basically, just to clarify, because I see a question whether I will mean chapter lead a particular application or system, rather more likely organization or project. If there is a large project with 100 BA and different breakdown of BA roles, then chapter sometimes is needed. But in organization, you have a lot of built chapters or tribes or communities of practice. So in short, it's a chapter, you can call it like that. So you are more responsible for organization of work or for tools or for how BAs collaborate with each other and other teams and so on. So this is what I mean by chapter lead. I hope that this clarifies. Again, in a role of an agency BA lead, you will have your own team, and maybe not every day, but at least once a week, you will have a team meeting where you'll ask how their projects are going on, whether they need any help, whether they have training needs, or they would like to meet to discuss a certain problem, and so on. And basically maybe play some integration games. In a BA chapter lead or BA lead in a contracting agency, it's very important to also do team building or integration activities, so you don't feel like a lonely island. For me, having a chapter in any organization that I worked in is very useful, and I always encourage colleagues and managers to create such tribes or chapters, because that means that the project gained in one project is not lost forever. We can support each other. We can avoid stumbling into the same blocks that others did, because we have this knowledge in the chapter already. And also we can assign buddies to other people to support them in their daily problems. Yeah. Okay, before lunch, we still have, when we are a BA lead, some project deliverables. But what I usually done before lunch, because after lunch is difficult, because people are already tired and are thinking about sleeping or finishing their job, is the cementing of the team. So what I said is about the integration games, for example. I can give you some examples. One of the ones that I've done some discovery in the past, how you can build your team when people are, for example, contractors and so on. So you might not build a sense of family, because family is a big word, but a brotherhood, sometimes that's maybe enough, or sisterhood, however, is the we are in this together, we can support each other, maybe we should get to know, but to get to know each other a little bit better. So one of those games is Who's That Fridge? If you don't know that game, I recommend it. It's not maybe for the beginning. It's a little, you need to know each other a little bit more to be more confident and more safe when you share. But the game is about making a picture of contents of your fridge, and then you share it with the game master. Typically, it was me, because I organized this game. And I got pictures of the contents of the fridge from my team, and then I displayed it in the meeting, and the whole team was asking questions about the fridge, about the person who owns that fridge, and I was giving them hints, and they tried to discover whose fridge that is. Quite fun, especially when people organize their fridge to fool others. like French people removing all the cheese from the fridge, for example. Or people, I saw a fridge in the basement. Someone had a habit of using a fridge like an additional cupboard. So there are roller blades inside, for example. So people were trying to guess whose that fridge is, and they had a lot of fun. And there's such events cement the team. So again, whilst you are a contracting agent, leading in a contracting agency, well, you will have your project deliverables and cementing team at the same times, which is quite more difficult. So sometimes being a lead in the agency means some overtime, yeah, sadly. All right. It looks very organized until this moment. You know what to do and so on, but then the groundhog factor strikes, as I call it. So for the first time, and what happens? The conflict arises. So whatever role you are in, whether that's contracting agency, whether that's chapter, whether that's being a BA lead in a project, a conflict might occur between one of your BAs and another member of their team or your team if you are in the same one. So for me, the conflict resolution is like 15% of time of a BA lead. Sometimes it's not really a conflict, it's a misunderstanding. But sometimes people tend to escalate the misunderstandings to a rank of a conflict, a serious one, especially when they do not talk to each other or give each other feedback. So one of my policies when I take over a team is to ensure that people know that feedback is appreciated amongst themselves, to myself and to other people as well. Because you cannot know if you are doing your job properly, or others cannot know if they are working well with you if you do not provide feedback or you don't receive feedback, because then it's working in the dark. So my first question is usually, if somebody comes to complain about my BAs, is, all right, have you shared that feedback with this person? And the usual 70% of times answer is no, I haven't. I came directly to you. So a good lead would do, a bad lead would do what bad leads do. So basically, yes, I will go and talk with that person and tell him that it's unacceptable. Well, first thing you do, you listen to arguments, you ask whether that feedback was directly presented to another person, and whether this is, for example, a third time when that feedback was shared and there was no response. Then you need to act for sure. But I would usually listen, encourage to give direct feedback, but also go to talk with the BA and ask what is their perspective and try to understand. And then a lot of times I act as like a court mediator. So yeah, I understand you as well, but we need to find a common ground. And that usually works. Sometimes it doesn't. So the conflict is so bad, or the tools or the methods of work that led to this conflict are not dependent of someone's behavior. They are dependent of the project setup or the organization setup, or how particular roles collaborate in the organization. So it would be good to talk with it. For example, if it's a problem with solution architects, collaboration with solution architects, it's a BA lead, chapter lead to go and talk with the solution architect chapter leads and resolve the issue. So maybe the working environment or the means of working on the frequency of the meetings is wrong, and it needs to be set up on the chapter leads level. All right, this is one conflict. These were two examples of conflict, actually. When you are a lead in a contracting agency, you can have a very difficult conflict to solve. BA versus client. That is the worst kind of, because then you need to talk with people that you haven't built any relationship with, that are client representatives, and they are complaining about your BA. Difficult situation indeed. So my usual stance there is, first meeting, I only listen. I only listen to what they have to say. I make notes. I go back to the BA in question and try to first understand the overall situation in the project. And then ask questions about the, let's say, charges they had against that BA and understand the reason behind it. And then we have different options. Either I come back to the I recognize that there is a mistake on our part or on the BA part, and I say, look, I see your point, but maybe you should act differently. The client is right. I will talk with them. Please ensure that you correct this mistake, and I will ensure them that this will not happen again. And I hope that the relationship will be better now because the air was cleaned and everything. But sometimes the claims of the client are unjustified. And it's another difficult situation because you need to go about and tell them, look, I've talked, my perspective is like this and that. And sometimes you encounter reasonable people on the other side as well, and they say, oh, I haven't thought about it. Maybe we should talk with the BA and solve this. But sometimes it's that they do not appreciate that feedback and the situation gets tense, and other people might get involved, delivery managers and so on and so on. But my general stance is if I believe that BA is right and there is nothing wrong on our part, well, I will defend that stance, basically. All right. This is conflict. So I think the key takeaway for you here is that the more feedback in the team, the more feedback to stakeholders, the more feedback is shared among the team and everybody else, the less possibility of conflict, unless the feedback is given in a way that somebody doesn't want to hear and it's very straightforward and sometimes rude. Then the feedback itself might be a reason of conflict. So this is something we need to avoid. And I a lot of times organize training for people to understand how to give and receive proper feedback because that's important. Okay, finally we have lunchtime. So what I tend to do, some people do work lunches, go about with stakeholders for lunch and so on and so on. I do that myself sometimes, but I prefer to have a slow time there. So a meal, of course, but I try to reserve 10 minutes for walk because in a BA role, it's good to get some fresh air and perhaps have a little bit of a slower time just to breathe and prepare for the other part of the day, especially if you are already tired or angry because of something. All right. After lunch, approximately 1 p.m. Again, BA project lead will go about project work unless disrupted. Let's talk a little bit about recruitment activities, because if you are a BA chapter lead or a contracting agency lead, you will engage in recruitment, which is a little bit different between both roles. So when you are leading a chapter, you'll try to find people that fit in the organization and what chapter needs to do. If you have such competencies, of course, to hire people, because that's sometimes you have only competencies in leading or providing rules of engagement, let's call it like that, and you don't have any assignment to recruit. But I was fortunate enough in my chapter lead roles to recruit as well. So then you are looking for people that are fitting your team and the task you have to accomplish. Because otherwise it will be difficult to cement that team later on. So what I avoid is well-trained, well-experienced, but rude individuals or very arrogant. I know everything, so I don't need a chapter lead. I'm a contractor besides, so what chapter we are talking about? So let's try to find, and I a lot of times have values or rules in the team that I try to transmit during the interview and get people to accept them before I hire them. In agency, however, when you recruit as a BA lead, your goal is different. Whether this person will be good enough or will fit the needs of the clients you have. So you try to get into the shoes of the client to find the right person First of all, also to fit the values of the contracting agency and that you won't have troubles with, but also looking at the vacancy that you have from client, how those people fit the role. Okay, when you finish these activities, most likely around 3 p.m., you start solving other person's issues. That's in a BA lead role in a project, because throughout the day, there are different stuff going on, user stories created, Excel sheets created, and so on. And usually you are the most experienced BA in the team, so others will seek your assistance. But I would like to I would like to challenge this meaning of being a BA lead or a leader at all. This assumption that when you are a leader, you need to be the wisest person in the room. I would say it's not true. When you are a leader, you need to know whether to direct a person or how to help rather than knowing everything yourself. So I would say you can be an expert, it's welcomed, but if you don't know something, you don't know something and you can't know everything. So the most important thing is, okay, I understand the issue. Let me rephrase that. Let me understand what you're saying. And I think I know who will help you in this. And I will make the acquaintance, I will make the contact, I will even call and say, that this BA will come to you and discuss this matter because it's very important. And it's in all roles actually the same. As a leader, I try to be an enabler, remove blocks, help others to do their job properly. When you are a chapter lead, you would also like to do some town halls maybe. So this month I have a few announcements. These are the successes of the team. These are the failures we had that we need to learn from, and so on. So once a month for 2 months, I've done a town hall meeting for all the BAs to have everyone on the same page. So everybody knows what is happening, especially in projects, it's important. Because if you're a chapter lead in a huge project that lasts 4 years already, and it's about to finish, people would like to know whether their contracts or their engagement finishes or they will have a new one. So I try to know these things in advance and be honest. If I know that there is a possibility project or setup will end up in 3 months, I tell it to them. I do not hide. Unless, of course, I was ordered to, which is uncomfortable, but sometimes you cannot avoid that. In contracting agency, you will also have such things like leadership meetings, which means you are not the only BA lead in the agency. So you need to align your ways of working with each other. So the rules in the company are the same. So you will align, you will discuss, my team has a certain issue, how we treat it. What do we do about? Because no team is a lonely island, especially when you lead BA. You have, for example, as I had 6 different BA teams in contracting agency, and I was just one of the team leads under the same manager. So we tried to solve issues and back each other up. So basically, there was no arbitrary situations where people were treated different because they were in different teams. The same rules applied. Of course, we are different people. We might have different management style, but whatever you do, try to keep your people in a sense of being that you are just and that you apply the same rules for the whole team, whether you like somebody or not. We might not like someone, and that's normal. But still, being professional means helping everyone or being the same for everyone. Yeah. Okay, but then we have, hello there, I'm in a grave need of assistance. So again, people will come with those problems, and I said a little bit about it, but I also want to be very clear about one thing. Please try not to make others' problems your problems, because then you will end up with a big pile of problems in front of you. You won't be able to do anything. So you are an enabler, you help people, but you do not ingest as a lead. And I say, okay, I will do it for you. Yeah. And then after 2 weeks of such things, you will not have time to do anything else. You will just be taking away problems. So we need to find a decent common ground uh, between I will take all of your problems, and between giving somebody comes with one problem and they leave your office with three others other problems. That's not what you want to do. You want to help, and you want to show the road to solve the problem, show the way to solve the problem. All right. Again, solving other person's issues, but more urgent, my own issues. That's something I can solve as well, because I can run, because of lack of time, into more issues. What you do as a chapter lead, you will have management team meetings, my favorite. So how is the chapter doing? Well, yes, we are all fine. Everything is great and so on. But there is a tiny, tiny little issue that nobody wants to collaborate with us. And that will be, for example, something we'll discuss. What I tend to do in those management meetings, I am transparent and honest. If we don't have means or we have problems in collaboration with others, I highlight them and so on. Because if you don't, you end up in watermelon reporting, which I call. So everything is green on the outside, but inside it's red. Yeah, so be careful about it, because if somebody discovers that you are doing watermelon reporting, then you are in deep trouble. Okay? Okay, and the Groundhog Empire strikes back for the last time, hopefully. So what if, just what if, you are not only a BA lead in project, or a BA lead in a chapter, or BA lead in an agency. You are two of those, which I've been. So I've been a team lead in a contracting agency, and I was a BA chapter lead for the client at the same time. So in my contracting agency, I had 10 people underneath. In the BA chapter role that I have been doing for the client, I had 40. So in such case, it's good to think how you want to organize your time. What I did, knowing that 40 people in chapter, and they were scattered all over the world. They were in South America, in North America, they were in UK, they were in Poland, in France, and in Asia as well. So how do you do that? I established a leadership team with BA leads in those regions as well, because I knew that I cannot be in all of those places at the same time. Important thing was to say to those leads, look, you will be still working in capacity of a BA, but you will be having experience of leading people, supporting them, and helping me solve their problems. Is that fine with you? Of course, I got backing from the management and everything, and I organized this way. So remember, you are not a Superman. Sometimes you need help from others. Sometimes you can't be alone. You need to set up leadership teams, or consultation bodies, or whatever. For me, the greatest success of this, when I was both a BA chapter lead and a lead in the contracting agency, was that I was able to go for a month on vacation, come back, and guess what? It all was as I left it. So the teams were working fine, people were helping each other, there was no crisis, nobody called when I was on the beach or whatever. So this was the best time when I recognized also, because I had some problems with that letting others in your ecosystems to help you manage is also important. Of course, of course, you take the accountability on your shoulders, but you have support, and you need to trust somebody. Yeah? Well, it's a little bit crazy, isn't it? And this whole presentation, I know it might feel a little bit chaotic, but I also wanted to show you a lot of different flavors. So actually how to still cope with all of that, especially when you are in both roles. So what I firmly believe in, you need to be predictable. So if people come with issues, problems, you still are the same person every day, regardless of your private things, regardless of how you feel, whether you have a headache or you are angry or whatever, you are predictable. So when people come to you, they know what to expect. Then you also lead with empathy. So maybe the problems that people have do not resonate with you. For you, these are not problems. You wouldn't be so agitated by those, or you wouldn't feel that this is a problem for you, would solve it instantly. But other people are not you. So you need to try to understand what they are going through, and you never know what other people are going through. On the outside, everything might seem fine. But maybe they are coping with a major loss in their life. Somebody from the family has passed away. Maybe they have financial issues and they are a little bit anxious and so on. You don't know what is underneath. So we try to apply empathy and understanding always. And it helps because if people see that and even you don't understand them, you try to help, it's easier to manage people then. Patience. Well, I say to someone, I explained it to you 3 times already. Why don't you get it? Will not help. You know, for sure, it's something that will cause more stress and so on. There are other ways to do. Maybe if somebody doesn't understand or makes the same mistake again, we explain it badly. Maybe it's on our side. Maybe we need to do self-analysis and see whether our communication is well prepared. Diplomacy. And this is especially when you contact other chapters, leaders, project managers, and so on. Yeah, you try to be helpful, predictable, empathetic, and everything else, but you also and you apply diplomatic skills, of course, while being assertive. So you convey your message without anger, without being too straightforward, and you might be open but not rude and straightforward because you won't get any results. So diplomacy, I think, is important. And in a BA role, I emphasize a role of courage. So you see anti-patterns in working on the team or a person. You see anti-patterns in the organization. If you want to make real impact as a BA lead, you need to have courage to highlight those. You cannot just sit idle and say, yeah, that's the reality. You need to have courage to fight the anti-patterns and to improve the working environment. That's why you are lead for, obviously. That's how I see the role. So, big secret is your team is not perfect, and neither are you. So, please remember that people make mistakes, and you are also allowed to make mistakes. You learn, you apply different actions to in your daily work and life. I My stance on this is you are never perfect, and I would always preach against perfectionists. You can say I'm perfectionist, I need to have everything in place, but there will be tasks, there will be situations that you haven't encountered before. If you apply this factor of being perfectionist every time, you will burn. But the burnout is very close to that. I've been there. Uh, I've been very scared of my mistakes before. I haven't slept at night and everything. And a lot of times I woke up the next day, talk with people, and I realized that the mistake is not that grave as I thought it was. Yeah? So maybe sometimes you need to cut yourself a little bit slack. All right, this is all I had to say. I hope that at least some of those resonated with you and you haven't sleep at this time of the day after work. So if you have any questions or you just want to engage in a friendly discussion, I'm all yours. Okay, I see a question, so I'll read it out loud. It's from Michał. Thanks a lot, Paul. You've mentioned finding balance in helping your BAs against taking over their issues task, not to overload your day. Can you share maybe the factors, sorry, can you share maybe an actual example of what factors do you take into consideration when deciding when to take over something and when not? All right, first of all, we we have tasks to fulfill on everyday basis. So if we are well organized, we know what anybody has on their plate and so on. We also know our people, what their experience is. So whether they are junior, senior, or professional, or how long they've been in the project. And I think this question is valid, but usually I would say that 80 or 90% of the times I won't take the task for someone. Because for me, the most important part is to empower people to try to solve the issues on their own. Of course, if they do not have technical expertise, that will be difficult. Then, if I have the knowledge, I can mentor them, I can help them find a way, but I want them to find the way instead of me finding the way for them. So, for me, every time you are a lead, you are as much responsible for the fulfillment of the task as much for the development of such person. So I would like to support them, help them out. It depends in what degree. I will judge that based on a set experience, the magnitude of the problem, its urgency, and so on. But I will try to help in a way they will be able to solve the problem, or somebody will help them to solve the problem. And I won't take it and I say, all right, this is not your case anymore. I will do it. Because what it shows, first of all, it's lack of support, because don't believe they will do it. I need to come down from my mountain and take it away. Yeah, which doesn't encourage people, and some of them might feel like, all right, okay, I'm not good enough, and that's what we want to avoid. We want people to have courage and to try to learn. So I would do that. I hope that this answers your question. All right. Any other questions, remarks? Maybe you don't agree with me on something. That's also fine. Or you were
Any other
expecting.
question, guys? Well, I had a question for you, Pawel.
Yeah.
So in a situation where you are probably in like a requirement gathering session with a stakeholder, and the stakeholder that you're interacting with is probably a little rigid, and you're not able to get a lot from them. So how do you handle a situation like that, and kind of make them comfortable to dig deeper into the requirements?
Well, being rigid stakeholders is a problem old like business analysis itself. So,
Yeah,
what it's better to let's say to prevent than cure. So what I try to do is to organize this requirement gathering or elicitation meeting in a way that they feel comfortable from the very beginning. So I first of
right,
all ask for the time and when they have it, when they have time slots available. I share the agenda, I share questions in advance if I know that this is required, because sometimes you have a good relationship and that it's not required at all. But sometimes
right,
people are very busy, and the answering a lot of detailed questions from a business analyst is not their favorite time of the day. So you need to do whatever you can to make them comfortable and prepared for the meeting. So because if you do not do that, they will be also sometimes surprised by the line of questioning, and they
right,
might get defensive, and that might be also, and that is important. You might want to discover the reason behind them being rigid. You might ask, look, I see that I think you probably could that I think that we could find more requirements here. Maybe you need some more time, or maybe I'm asking the wrong questions. Yeah? So
Right.
try to get the feedback. What is wrong with this meeting? Yeah.
Yes. And always have the feedback loop on. I think that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any other question, guys?
Alrighty, if there are no more questions, I just encourage you to contact me on LinkedIn. If you have any, if you want to get connected or discuss anything, I'm there. So thank you so much for spending this 1 hour with me. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pawel, for your time and this insightful session. And thank you all of you all for joining in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.